Hi class. In this lecture we're going to be discussing chord structures. This is the second half of chapter 26, right? So first thing we're going to kind of get into is something we've already kind of covered. We've already kind of covered extended tertian harmony, right? 9s, 11s, 13s, right? Things like that. So if we look at page 475 is where I'm at, right? Example 26-13 illustrates a coloristic use of extended tertian sonorities, or tall chords. It's kind of a layman term for that, right? Notice the clear sense of root movement in measures 1 to 2 indicated in the analysis, as well as the meticulous attention to voice leading. The texture of the succeeding measures 3 to 5, continues to employ tall sonorities, created through scale-wise motion of the bass line. So let's take a listen to the bass line real quick, right? On into after the repeat, right? So let's look and kind of analyze this, right? We can kind of analyze this as a collection of 1 chords, right, after measure 2, right? And we notice the bass line going from E to D to C to B to A to G, then skips to A, E, D, G, right? Kind of around the circle of fifths motion. But on top of that, these are just nothing more than stacked thirds or extended tertian harmony, right? If we were to break these chords apart, that first chord, right, if we were to put it in its root position, C major 7, right? That second chord, E minor 7, right? I guess with a C thrown in, right? So C, C9, C major 9, right? After that, another C major 7, another C major 7, right? Then an A minor 9, right? We can kind of think about it like that. Then just another version of an A minor 9 to, what would we call that chord? Another A minor 7, right? To a what? Stacked thirds, right? All stacked, all stacked thirds. I would probably go ahead and classify it, even though it's omitting the third, I would classify that as a D minor, 7, 9, 11, right? Then to just a 5. They analyze it in G though. They analyze it as a chord built on the 6th scale degree, right? 2, 5, 1, right? 6, 2, 5, 1, right? Kind of what I already said about that, right? Okay, so let's take a look at it. Let's take a listen to it, I should say. Okay, so that's an example of extended tertian harmony. You know, I'm not going to spend too long going over this because we already covered this in chapter 25, right? What it's really trying to preface us, or kind of prepare us for, prep us for, is the introduction to polyharmony, right? Not to be confused with bitonality. Bitonality meaning a piece of music with 2 very distinct keys going on. Polyharmony is when we're really adding multiple chords, where extended tertian harmony doesn't really work. So let's look at example 26-15, right? Stacking 2 chords on top of one another, right? Superimposed triads, right? Here's a D minor 13. We could also analyze this chord as a D minor and an E minor chord, right? Or a D minor with an E flat chord, right? A lot of different ways we can analyze this. Or a split third, right? Which is what we're getting to next, is essentially a D minor chord and a D major chord. We're taking the third and splitting it between major and minor. So that third, both qualities of third are present: a D minor, D major. Very interesting quality. Sounds almost tonal, and then it doesn't, because they have so many common tones. Right? Interesting quality, right? Let's go on to example 26-16, right? Here's a example, a really good example of polyharmony, right? Polychordal, we might call it also. Let's take a listen to it first. Very crunchy, very out there, right? Notice the contrary motion of the voice leading and sharp dissonance created by one polychords whose chordal units have roots a half step or a tritone apart. A flat, right? Okay. C and F sharp major, tritone apart. Polychords also contains polychords containing a single contrasting chromatic inflection, such as G, B flat. In contrast to pairs of chords may be found in the same key signature, C or F, B minor or G, right? So the composer is avoiding, right, taking chords that are diatonically linked or even chromatically linked, right? B minor, G major, those are absolutely linked. C and F, absolutely linked. But the chords he wants to absolutely distinguish between are chords that are very distantly related, A flat and A, and C and F sharp. Right? So we get a sense of grounding when we get to these chords that are diatonically related, and then we're thrown into dissonance with the chords that are very distantly related. Right? Okay. Now, if we flip the page and we look at example 26-17, Milhaud, right? This is taken from 4 sketches of for piano. Milhaud was a prominent member of a group of French composers known as the Six, whose members included among Poulenc and Honegger, right? Composers we should be getting ourselves familiar with. Open up YouTube, right? What we're really, let's play through the excerpt first, and then we will analyze this, right? Right off the bat, it looks to me, this first measure, to be parallel motion between the voices. Let's see if we can't hear that by listening to it. Okay, let's see what's going on through here. The excerpt begins at measures 43 with a somewhat angular melody presenting a widely spaced parallel minor thirds. There we go. The following 2 measures make use of split third chord, F minor against A in the left hand, and a passage that remains tonally ambiguous. Although G major is implied in the following 3 measures, the shifting accidentals in the right hand strongly suggest B major, followed by D major, right? We have an F minor chord with A in the root. There's a G minor 7. There's our split third again, G minor 7. And then this chord. Right? So we can see where he's being very ambiguous with his tonal centers. Okay? Also worthy of mention are the careful voice leading and use of parallel thirds and triads in the right hand part. We will see more extensive use of this technique later on in the chapter, right? So, right below example 26-17, we see an example 26-18, which is Bartók. Remember we were talking about Bartók in the previous lecture about synthetic scales and bitonality. This is an example of bitonality where we see the right hand in C major and the left hand in C sharp minor, right? C sharp natural minor. the book defines bitonality or polytonality when two or more key centers are heard at the same time, right? Not chords, key centers, right? So let's listen to this microcosmos, right? There's 7 volumes of that. If you're Israel, you should check those out. Playing with C minor, and one might say D Dorian, right? Technically the key of C major though, A minor, depending on what to do. It's ambiguous, right? Can we call a piece of music that's in C major if it's not really grounded in any tonal center related to C? Well, you could probably say, well, the left hand's in C sharp minor, natural minor, and the right hand is in D Dorian, right? Okay? Let's go on and finish up this section right here with these bitonality and polyharmony and extended tertian harmony, right? Chord and scale connections, I'm at the bottom of page 478. Whereas in the tonal system, a triad or 7th chord may be perceived as a discrete and a unit, despite doubling inversion of chord member emissions and even the presence of non-chord tones, the aural effect of sonorities in the post-tonal music is far more dependent on scale reference, doubling, spacing, and arrangement in general. What that is saying in a lot of words, sometimes this book cracks me up. These 7th chords, in order to be heard as functional, rely on the chords that surround them. These chords that we've been studying here are simply sonorities, right, that the composer has chosen for coloristic purposes, right? They don't function. They're not going, it's not a 5-to-1 relationship, right? We heard the Debussy going from that G flat 7, right, to dominant 7 chords that have no resolution whatsoever. So example 26-19 is what we're going to go on to next. Shows 5 possible chords that can be derived from the tones of a major pentatonic scale, right? And here is where we're getting into chordal and quintal and segundal harmony, which I'm going to end the video here and save for the next lecture. Okay?